You know. Okay, any other students? Okay, back open then. You have a question.
I would like you to comment on the role of private individuals, nonprofit groups in preserving the parks, or even in creating the parks, and also the economic benefits of parks.
Okay, so private individuals and organizations have always been the driving force in both the creation of and in probably its long-term preservation. That without that, it wouldn't happen. I remember talking to Ken Burns while he was working on his America's Best Idea film, and I asked him a question. I said, at what point when you were doing this film did you suddenly realize that this is a story about people rather than a story about parks? And he said that there was this blinding flash all of a sudden, that they just suddenly realized that every one of these parks has somebody's story behind it. You know, whether it's a George Dorr in Acadia or Rockefeller in the Tetons. You know, they're just these individuals that just sort of doggedly pursued it to get it established, and then in some ways stayed with it over time. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglases of the Everglades and other parks. So that's incredibly important. And then that's sort of in many cases that they morph into the Friends organizations. And every park, not every park has one. I would say every park needs one. And frankly, they can be extraordinarily helpful politically, philanthropically, locally, in the park stewardship. And they can be great advisors they can be a pain in the ass too, but they can be a great advisors to the park management, which I think is really, really important. And I mean, I've always loved my friends groups that I've worked with over the years. There is a Friends Alliance. There's the work by the National Park Foundation to help create new Friends groups and help build capacity for these Friends organizations to raise money. And there's a lot of money out there. We set the goal to raise a significant amount of philanthropic support for the Park Service during the centennial. We raised about $400 million of private funds to do projects in parks. So they're incredibly important.
Okay. And the economic benefits.
Oh yeah, economic benefits. Okay, economics. So the standard economic model that we've been using for a long time, called the money generational model, it looks at predominantly visitor spending. It's pretty robust. It's been tested, you know, a number of times. So the standard result is for every dollar expended within a national park unit, there is $4 into the local economy. And then when that cascades through the larger economy, it results in about $10 to the American economy. And so I always say parks are not an expense, they're an investment. And you can see it, you know, go to Moab, Utah, you know, or Estes Park, you know, any of these gateway communities, and they are robust as a result of the presence of those parks, sometimes a little too robust in some cases. So we've been trying to make the economic argument for a long time. One of the projects that we worked on during my tenure is a new analysis of all the economic impacts, not just tourism, but ecosystem services, education. You'll love this one, the use of parks for movies. The opening scene in one of the Star Wars movies is, you know, in Arches, you know, and so parks are used for movie sets all across the country, of which we get basically nothing back on. And so Professor Linda Bilmes, who's a Harvard economist, has been writing a book on this. The book will be coming out next year. It's going to be called America's Best Investment, and it is going to do a full analysis. And the other thing that Linda did, along with Professor John Loomis at Colorado State University, is they did a survey of the American people on a willingness to pay. So it's a standard economic model. You go out and you ask the public, you know, through a statistical analysis about the willingness to increase their taxes by a certain amount in order for something to persist And basically, that's what they did for the national parks. And they even parsed it like, how much would you allow your taxes to go up to save 20% of the national parks, or 50%, or the entire national parks? The bottom line is that across all economic sectors, the American people would be willing to let their taxes increase as much as $400 per household to protect the national parks. Currently, they pay 1/10 of 1 cent of their taxes go to the protection of the national parks. I like that delta. I would always hope for a checkoff on your 1040, but we'll never get that. So, you had a question?
Yeah. When you were speaking about the need to break out of the silo,